All right, so I want to get this to you. I'm a little bit behind on this. This was actually filmed during November 12th to 16th while I was in Seattle, so it's a couple of weeks old, and I've actually already showed you some of the training since when I got home in a day-to-day breakdown of my total routine. But as part of this, I wanted to get it out and just talk a little bit about training in a commercial gym, because that's one of the questions I get all the time from people who watch my videos. Do you miss going to a commercial gym? Or people who just think that they could never really train at home effectively. And for me, I've never really had that problem, and it's really because of two big reasons. Number one, the equipment. So the equipment that I have in my house, I like to think is some of the nicer stuff that's available, and I really can't express how much I enjoy training on that stuff, especially when you compare that to some of the stuff in a commercial gym, like this particular squat rack that you're seeing, which is really wide, so I have a tendency to bang the weights on the walkout, more so even though when I'm using like an Ohio power bar with thin collars at home. And this particular squat rack is really rickety, and even though it's bolted to the ground, I always feel like there's the potential where it's going to tip over. Every time I rack, the floor creaks and things shake, and it's just not necessarily very comforting. Another problem I have with this particular gym, which I didn't really have any clips of, but I'll probably try to flash a picture of the bench itself, is that the bench pad on the only bench press in this whole entire gym is probably about 7 to 8 inches wide, which is extremely narrow, which means setting your shoulders is extremely hard to do. Not to mention it's an extremely low bench as well, and where I have to lift off the bar is also extremely low. It's just not very fun. So the fact that I have access to great equipment is really a big win in my opinion, and one of the reasons I really love training at home. Now, that's not to say there aren't gyms out there that have better equipment than I do and more of it, but that brings me to the second point of why I really like training at home, and that is just the accessibility. So for someone like me who works a full-time job that has very demanding hours outside of even just normal business hours, so almost always having to have my phone on me in case someone needs me for something, add that also to the fact that I'm married, I have a young son, I just don't have the time that it takes to drive back and forth to a gym, and there's nowhere close to me that would able to really provide me with the equipment I'm looking for. So being able to go down in the basement at whatever time I want, whenever I want, and even split stuff up as I have to and not really lose any time because I'm not going too far from my office, since I work at home pretty much 90% of the time when I'm not in Seattle or in Boston, or oftentimes I spend time in Nashville and Round Rock as well. Round Rock, Texas, that is, Austin, right outside. It's just the two biggest benefits. So for me, being able to have access to great equipment and at whatever time I want in my own home is just a really big win for me. So that's why I don't mind training at home. And although commercial gyms can be fun every now and then, I just don't prefer it. Hope everyone has a great week, and I will get you some new training very soon because I have a lot of backlogs of training.